All right, I'm here with Doug Edrington to discuss the do's and don'ts of getting into real estate. Doug, you've been in the business for 17 years now. I'm trying to think back to starting from the very beginning, like the first step. Of course, you have to get your real estate license, but there's a lot to figure out. Where would you say you would find that information out first?
Well, when you think, so first off, don't compare to what I've done when I got started, because it was very different just even 17 years ago. And I think what a lot of people are doing right now when thinking about getting in the business is they're going to someone they know and they're like, what did you do when you got started? Well, the landscape is very different today than it was back then. Back then it was, all you had to do to generate business was the traditional things, which is making a comeback, by the way. It's very cyclical, but it was lots of open houses. It was calling for sale by owners. It was shadowing other people, right? And teams weren't really a thing though back then. It was just, I think there was one team in town that I'm aware of when we got started. And so It really wasn't a big thing. So first off, make sure that you're getting information from the old and the new, like understanding exactly like what does the landscape of real estate look like today? Because the challenges we're facing today is commission compression. That's a word you're going to hear a lot as you get in this business. There's a lot of companies out there that are discount brokers. They're willing to do things for less. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to decide, do you want to be on that side of the track or the other? What we're seeing is consumers are looking for one of two things. I want the cheapest or I want the best service, right? So first off, decide, which route do you want to go? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think, Doug, you brought up a very valid point discussing how teams weren't a thing when you started, but now, it's the biggest way to go to build a strong foundation.
Absolutely. Let's talk solo versus team.
Yeah.
Like that's another topic that is really important when you got to think about it as you get in this business, because you get in this business to be entrepreneurial. You get in this business to set your own schedule. You get in this business to have an unlimited income. Like that's all the reasons most people, when they're getting into real estate, when they're sitting in the real estate class, they're talking with each other. Like these are the conversations that are happening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you've never been an entrepreneur before, and you've never run your own business, and you don't have any expertise when it comes to the finance, the accounting, the marketing, the lead generation, the skill sets that you need, if you're going to be hiring people, the leadership side of it, like there's a lot of things you need to learn. So unless you're just a serial entrepreneur, or maybe you're in your second career, you're leaving maybe a great one that you had and you're headed into another one, like maybe there's some solo opportunities there for you, but you still need to learn. So I'm a big fan of a team, as you know, right? So with the team structure, it allows you to become a specialist at one thing at a time, right? And I'd recommend specializing in sales right out of the gate, So it's not just about, like they say houses sell themselves, and they kind of do in a sense, but at the same time, is the consumer going to work with you? Mm-hmm. Right? Or if you're just opening up doors and saying, what do you think? And do you want to write an offer? You're not adding value to that consumer. So that's where you need the skill sets in place to figure out what's the path to get to that conversation where I can add value. How am I going to add value? Am I a market expert, or do I know nothing about what I'm doing? Right? You've got to do the homework up front, but you need a leader. You need a mentor. You need a team leader. You need someone who's going to guide you, a coach of something that's going to help you get down that path. So don't do this career alone if you're getting started.
Yeah, that's good. I heard this saying, Doug, it's you can't lead someone somewhere that you've never been. And so being able to follow someone who's been in the industry, I know it helped out my career take a huge leap. Our average agent right now, Doug, is doing, the numbers just as much as I do, but 23.6 deals their first 12 months of real estate compared to a 7.8 across Chattanooga entirely. So
in their first year?
Their first
7.8 is this first?
Well, the first year
it's probably every agent does 7.8.
It's every agent is 7.8, but for our agents, their first year
it's really good.
Does 23, and I think it's 25 for all of our agents. But you talked about learn from the old, the new. We talked about joining team versus solo. There's only 13% that actually make it in this industry after 3 to 4 years. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? That's a 87%. That's a large number. Why do you think that is?
Our industry as a whole does a huge disservice to all of its realtors, and of course the consumers that have to deal with that. I guess a lot of a lot of people that are untrained. There's a lot of brokerages out there because you're an independent contractor. You're not allowed to be told what to do. So therefore, training is optional, right? Or you can come and go as you please, and so it sets you up wrong right out the gate. So you want to join. You want to work with someone who is going to hold you accountable, and that takes two. Like when you first joined, there was a lot of accountability, right? It was you needed to show up to receive the benefits that come from the team, right? If you don't show up and take advantage of them, you're not going to get them. And so there's a lot to just showing up, right? I can't tell you how many people, I mean, it seems like every week I talk to an agent that says, hey, I'm struggling. And I'm like, well, tell me what's going on. They're like, well, I work on a team. And I'm like, okay, tell me about your team. And they're like, well, it's me and someone else. And I'm like, I just right out the gate, I can tell. All right, so are you guys partners, or are you the workhorse, or are you the assistant? Like what is your role and what is their role, and is it clearly defined? And I can tell right away. There's just like, well, it depends. Like I knew this person and I got in this business because we were friends, or it was my parents' friends, or turns out to be one of those things. And that is awesome that they knew someone to get in the business on, but is that going to help them to get to where they want to go? And rarely is that the case. Rarely is that the case. When you're getting in this business, let's talk a couple things that you should be really considering you need as tools in your tool belt, resources to be a team member.
Yeah.
To be an agent. It's not even a team member, just to be an agent. First and foremost, you've got to generate business, right? So where's that business going to come from? If you think because you know a lot of people, you're going to be successful, that helps, but is that really what's going to make you successful? I've had people interview with me many times, and they're just like, oh, I'm really well connected in the community. I'm a part of this board, and I hang out here, and my kids go to school here. But that's not what drives me to want to hire that person. It's not about who they know. Most of our most successful agents moved from another state and had been here for a lot of times we sold them the house, and they literally just got here and said, this is the career I'm starting in. And they crush it because they're not focused on who they know. They're focused on what they say, right? So skill set is going to be really important along with where you're going to get your business from. But let's talk two pieces here. Let's talk first where you're going to get your business from, but then I also want to come back to skill set. So where you're going to get your business from. Our team right now has about 50% of our business. I think it's just a little bit higher than 50% of our business is past clients, sphere of influence, the people that you know, right? Referrals from other clients, friends. Sometimes it's agent to agent referrals because of, the country's kind of a large place and we only work in one small spot. Yeah. So there's a lot of different referral type opportunities. That usually doesn't come in your first year of your business, though. That comes usually in years 2, 3, 4, and on. And so you've got to start somewhere. And I got to say, I know a lot of people that have just become a financial advisor, or just became a contractor, or just became a CPA. And as much as I love them as an individual and a human being, I'm not ready to put my, really expensive decision in their hands and I get to be their guinea pig and learn from them. I've done it before and it hurt every single time, right?
Yeah. And
so why do that to your friends and family? Why don't you go to a company or team that actually has a way to generate opportunity? With our team, we've got a great marketing department that generates a lot of business through leveraging Google and Facebook and Instagram. But then there's also Realtor.com and there's Zillow and there's, all these different areas that it's just too expensive for an individual to go out there and write the check to buy a $600 lead from Zillow that is a name, phone number, and email address for $600. And you're like, I hope this converts. That's a very expensive lesson to learn.
Yeah.
So how you can capture those opportunities, though, is to join a team or a company that provides that for you. Now, you got to do something in return, though, right? And this is where the skill set side comes in. So we're not expecting anybody to join our team to know really anything. We're actually kind of looking for the people that are just hungry, humble, smart, like they want to learn, but they're not coming in there with the ego that says, I know how to do this. And so what we're looking for is the opportunity of someone who's just really coachable. So we can say, hey, this is exactly what you say. This is how you say it. These are the objections you're likely to hear. This is how we're going to overcome them. Like there's the skill set piece of what you say. What you say matters. We know that. Then there's also the market research. We want to educate these individuals on how to study the market, because a consumer is going to ask them, how's the market, Jesse?
Yeah.
Right? And how do you answer that? Well, it depends. Are they looking to buy, sell, or invest? We got to make sure that, and also where, right? Chattanooga, for example, is a very large market in the big scheme of things. And there's different parts of towns that we might have different strategies on. So we're going to help them study and understand the market at a really high level. Then there's also like the process behind it, from contract to close, and what do you do and how do you handle those things? So there's a lot of training that goes into place. If you don't have that training, then no one's going to give you the leads that you're looking for. And if you're going to pay for those leads on your own, but you don't have the training, it doesn't sound like a very good investment, right? So I challenge you to think through, as you're going down this process, it's not what you're going to do, it's who you're going to work with that's going to make the greatest impact, especially in your first year.
I love that. And I think Doug, you've laid out pretty much the framework of every single thing that it takes to build success in your first year. I guess, what is one thing that you, looking back now, because we talked about learning from old and new, and I kind of want to end it on this, but what is one thing that you look back on now and you're like, okay, real estate has changed, it continued to change. And it's like a revolving door in a way, because we were seeing stuff that you experienced that I've never experienced. What would you say is the hardest thing about getting into real estate right now, because we are in a shifting market? What would you say to those new agents getting started, whether it be with a team or not? What would you say they need to do in order to capitalize on the shifting market?
Do your research up front to understand. Again, this is back solo versus team almost. Long time ago, solo was the way to go, because that was the only way anybody really knew about, right? Other than the husband, wife, or the son or daughter like jumping in, like it pretty much was a solo sport. Now we're in a team sport, right? And you've got to figure out what team you want to join. If you're focused on, if ego is leading the path for you, and it's all about like, okay, I'm a new agent, my business card's got to look sharp, my photos got to look good, I need a website, should I do a billboard? No, don't do a billboard, right? You need to focus on the games that you can win, right? And like right now, you drive through Chattanooga and every other city in the country, there's a bazillion billboards, right? Don't compete with that game. Don't compete with that game at all. Focus on where you can compete. And that's going to be like being coachable, right? Getting the skill, finding the right mentor, finding the coach, finding the right person that's going to help you grow in that sense and then leverage others. So you got to recognize you're stepping into a business world now, whereas a long time ago, there was even, there's still a lot of part-timers now, but a long time ago, like, the industry was almost designed around part-timers. It was just designed around a hobby. And that's not the case anymore. This is a high-level business. It generates a lot of income for not just you, the agent, but for the companies, for the .coms out there that are selling the leads, for the title, the ancillary services, so title, mortgage, insurance, home inspection, just home services in general. And unlike a long time ago when we got started, none of that was really a conversation. Now the big players that are really scooping up all the money, they're involved in all of that stuff, which allows them to generate a lot of money and invest it back into the team, and then the agents prosper from it as well. So you got to figure out who you're going to be aligned with.
Love that. Well, Doug, I appreciate you, man. I think this is important for agents to know, those getting into the industry or those that may even be looking for a change. How do we shake it up a little bit to be successful and not be a part of the 87% that don't make it? But I appreciate it, Doug. Thank you, man.
Absolutely.